Well, hi everyone.
Morning, John.
Welcome to our webinar, How a Solid Tech Stack Can Help You Attract Talent. Um, we wanted to do this presentation because we know that attracting talent these days in construction is like pulling teeth. And we think we have something that will help all our clients and everyone in construction to better attract new talent as well as retain that talent once they have it. Just a brief introduction. My name is John Enns. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for the Net Effect. The Net Effect is a full-service digital transformation company operating in North America. Um, I've been in construction for 20 plus years, mostly in estimating and project management. Uh, Tim, Craig, and I started the Net Effect 4 years ago to help construction companies better their digital capabilities and adopt new technology and keep up with the growing trend of new technology. And I'll just share a little story about why this is important to me. When I started with the last company I worked for in the construction industry, they had multiple offices across the country. And I was an estimator, and often I would be estimating jobs that I had not had any experience with. But I knew that there was other estimators and other project managers across the country that had done it. But we had no way of file sharing. So I could call them and say, hey, when you get a chance, could you go look through your files and find me a job like this? And sometimes they'd do it. Mostly they wouldn't because they were busy doing their day-to-day. And ultimately that caused a lot of stress for me because I would have to wing it, and my estimate would turn into a guesstimate because I couldn't access the valuable data that was already existing. And that did cause a lot of stress, and it was frustrating for me where the company didn't have the tech to do that, even though I knew that it was possible. And that's so this subject is near and dear to my heart, that technology can make um, everyone in the company much more comfortable with what they're doing and make construction fun because they know they're making informed decisions. Tim, I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, hey John, thanks. We started this business 4 years, 4+ years ago, and a lot of what was the reason that I was passionate about this was some of my own experiences, like John's, trying to find the right software to help a business that I was working with, a civil excavation business, and going through the process and looking for software, searching for they were at the time they were looking for an LEM, and just looking for that was really difficult. And then trying to choose the right one was almost impossible. So that's where it all started. We saw that there was a huge need in the marketplace, and that's how we ended up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, my background is in construction. I was a business owner of a paving stone installation business in Whistler, and then worked for a civil excavation company for several years as a contract supervisor. So why don't we get into it, and I'll see if I can share my screen properly. It's highly unlikely, but I'll give it a go. Uh, Desktop
I
view.
hate to go backwards, but back to my introduction, I have been on the board of directors for the Winnipeg Construction Association, and I was the chair. And because I have a passion for the construction industry, and it was a way for me to give back. Anyway, you got to
Yeah,
get the slides up here,
yeah,
Tim.
I'm not very good at it.
You'll
Uh,
get there.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Tell me what you can see, and then I
Let's
need
work
to
that.
get
That
this.
works.
How's
There
that?
you go.
Is it
Perfect.
full screen?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, great. John, off to it.
Sure. So let's talk about why talent is critical in construction. I mean, skilled professionals drive productivity, ensured projects stay on schedule. High quality work reduces rework and delays. These are all great points. Talented workers improve workplace safety and compliance. You can't say enough having the right people in place. I mean, construction, more so in the field, but just getting people to show up is a challenge, and then getting talented people um, to in place is critical. And when you do get them, you want them to stay. You know, we all know that construction is super complex, and having the right people on the job can make the difference between success and failure. And there's a lot of software out there that can actually monitor each job and compare them to the other job, which one is in the black, which one's in the red, who's running that job. This isn't to be a big brother on your staff or on your project managers or anyone working for the company, but it helps monitor who is struggling, why are they struggling, and enables you to fix those problems as they arise.
And looking at, why talent is critical in construction, it's not as much. Often I was thinking as we were prepping for this that, oh, you want to try and find that PM or that office person who's going to run the project with the software and keep everything organized. Well, often you have good people in the office and they're skilled at that. But the people in the field as well, looking to hire new hires, looking for people to manage projects in the field or to even working on the projects, it doesn't matter. If a new hire is going to come into the organization, they're going to look at how organized you are. And if they have their choice, your organization is really going to matter.
Well, and not only that, from a tech point of view, Tim, having technology in place for your hiring and talent acquisition is important. I mean, I remember we'd have jobs lined up that we couldn't do in a year. So we'd start hiring people, and the operations manager would have a stack of papers on his desk, and he'd have to go through that. He had no time to go through all those and to vet them. And we all know that resumes can sometimes be truthful, sometimes not. And now having the technology to vet those ahead of time and give you your top 10% of the candidates that are coming in is going to save everyone time as well.
So that, as to my last point, the next slide, paper, Excel, and whiteboards, business is running that way, or connected apps and software, and the business is running that way. And you're a young person coming out of university with some education, have some talents. What are you going to choose? I think those people it's obvious that it is a huge advantage when hiring if you have a really well organized system, that you have good software, that you have systems and processes, standard operating procedures, and you're a good solid organization, because everybody knows intuitively that an organization that's really well organized is prepared for growth. And if you're still in the Stone Age, still using whiteboards, still using paper, they're going to look at it and say, you know what, I just don't see how this company is going to be
Yeah.
for growth.
When I started with the last company, the training was like, here, go read some technical data sheets, learn about the products, which was important, but there was no process. There was nothing that sort of told me what was going on. And we all know onboarding and training is very expensive, especially if you're doing it often. So having that onboarding and training manuals in place so that everyone knows what they're doing makes it more fun to be at work. They go home, people go home and feel like they actually accomplished something and did the right thing, rather than fumbling around a system that's not well organized.
So next steps, components of a strong tech stack. For me, number one, that's why we put this on top, is the UX and the UI. It doesn't matter what software you're looking at. It has to have a good user experience and user interface, meaning it's easy to navigate, it's easy to find things, it isn't complicated, and everything works. So that's the UX UI. So every time I put it, when we're doing demos, when we're helping our clients evaluate software, I really make sure they understand the importance of this. If you look at older software, on-premise software, even just look at Excel and how confusing that is, but you've been using it for years, so you understand it. But it's super important to have that really good, easy to use, understandable UX UI.
Yeah.
And then what leads next step, of course, is clear processes, workflows, and standard operating procedures. If you are adopting new software, you're going to have to adopt new standard operating procedures and workflows. You're going to streamline your workflows. You're going to make things simpler because you're going to have a clear pathway on how to manage all of the processes within your business. So getting those laid out and making them clear for all people, that's going to create a really strong tech stack. And everything needs to work together. Big problem we see with a lot of clients is silos of information, transferring the information from the beginning, from the estimating software into the project management software, and then transferring that information into the LEM, the time tracking software, then transferring that information, and always doing that. It's important that you have connected software or software that goes across as much of the organization as possible. We do talk about a lot about how important it is to have, if you're a smaller company, and when I say smaller, I mean under 100 million or 100 employees, 200 employees, having a separate finance software and construction management software. So the connectivity between all of the different apps and the different software that you have is incredibly important. And all of that leads to accuracy. Any thoughts on that, John?
No, you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. And having that, we're talking about retaining talent, having clear SOPs so people know exactly what they're doing from the estimate to the project management. So a strong tech stack that will be automatic. So, okay, we won the job. You take that estimate, it goes right into project management and the numbers, and that's your budget that you're working from. And knowing how to do that, whether it's automatic or maybe it's an API or a Zap that you're going from one program to the other. And there's all
Explain
kinds of
those.
different ways of doing this.
Explain those.
Sorry,
API and Zap.
Zapier is a program that will take data from one program and integrate it and communicate to another program accurately. It takes a bit of setting up, but it's a workaround for not having these programs being interconnected. And this is how you eliminate the silos, is by doing that. And what it does is eliminate it eliminates errors, really. If you're always doing data transfer manually from one to the other, the chances of missing a zero here or there, which could mean the difference between winning and losing a job, is it's going to happen. I did it for 20 years. It happens more often than anyone would like to admit. So yeah, that's all I want to add, is having clear processes from one to the other. Even if you are using old processes, which obviously we don't recommend, having a clear SOP and the expectation of the person doing the data input and transfers is important.
Yeah. In an ideal world, the first touch with a customer, you create the account, and then from then on, it is automatically all of their details and everything goes through the whole system, all of their details, all of the background, all of the communication, the estimate, the signed proposal, everything. You can find it, and it just passes through the system right to the end, so that when it comes time to billing and invoicing, finance can look and say, oh, there's the original contract, there's the terms of the contract, there's all the progress payments, oh, there's the final billing. It's all in one place all the way through. They don't have to go into a different system. It's easy to manage. And so passing that information along and being able to ensure that all the way through the system and every touch point, it's not new data entry, that's really important. Next up, attract and retain top talent. So what things, when you're trying to retain and attract top talent, what exactly are the key benefits? So what are the staff? And what I saw when I was working with Corona Excavations in Whistler, and it was that when we went from disorganization to organization to systems that were kind of leading edge at the time, there was a pride in the organization of the company, and knowing that the company was organized. Like, oh no, our shit is correct, that we're not going to have to redo things. I don't have to, these stupid pieces of paper. There was a pride in knowing that we were doing things and we were advancing, we were moving forward, that we were becoming more organized and more digital. There was definitely pride in that. And then that leads to a bit of job security. Like I said earlier, the idea that a company is setting themselves up for expansion, setting themselves up for growth, and can manage the work coming in. I think a lot of you out there, a lot of our clients out there, one of the struggles, or probably the biggest struggle, is finding that talent, not finding the work. We've talked to a huge percentage of our clients in over the last couple of years. They have work coming up. They booked out their calendar, but managing and the staff to do it is the difficulty. So finding that talent is difficult, and that's why we're talking about this. And then the clear communication with amongst the staff and with from the ownership management and down into the staff. I saw that in action when at Corona Excavations we adopted software to for time tracking that then became project management software because it was the scheduling and it was monitoring and all of that, but as well reporting for safety, all of those things. And the communication was obvious, and there weren't frustrations with between the office staff and the operation staff. There were fewer miscommunications, which creates, finger pointing and blaming people, or why didn't you get this to me?
Yeah.
Now, with that good communication, you're able to, like things are working well, and the operation staff in the field are like, the office staff has this figured out. This is great. All this stuff I need is right here. And if they have a question, they get in communicate, they text, they call. Everybody has the information. So that's the beauty of that. And I can tell you want to say something next to John.
Oh, I totally do. You're hitting the nail on the head, and it's the communication. A lot of people think, okay, a tech stack is really only going to benefit the higher level staff, whether it's PMs or the accountants or the estimators. But in fact, a good tech stack helps make everyone's life better, right down to the field staff. A great example is time tracking and the transparency that gives. They're putting their hours in, they can see the hours they put in, and then they can compare it to their paychecks, because often there would be discrepancies when you're handing in a paper slip. Not everyone's going to make a carbon copy of that. They hand it in and then they get their check and they just hope that it was all done right. When you have it digitized, you can see it and it's all there. Another big one is communications with the staff. I was just talking to a client yesterday. We were going through his tech tune-up, and scheduling was a big pain in the butt for him. He's a drywaller, and he couldn't, he's always adjusting his schedule because he's farther down the chain, and if the electricians didn't get things right or whatever, then he's always adjusting his schedule, and he needs to effectively communicate that with his staff. If you are finding out in the morning or the night before where you're going for a job, that causes frustration, and people are not going to like that. So if you are a young carpenter, say, and you have 3 kids and you got to get them to school, but you also just found out last night that you have an hour drive to your next job, that's going to cause a lot of frustration, and you're probably going to go start putting your resume out to different construction companies that are more organized. So having that clear communication, hopefully days in advance, okay, you're working here, you're working there, and how you do that so that you don't necessarily have to have a dispatcher, but that communication on the project manager can clearly tell his crews where they're going and what are they doing the next day, or what delays are coming up. And this is all done. There's huge time savings when you have the proper technology in place, and you can put those workflows in place. So if there is a delay in a project, it automatically notifies the people that are involved. They can adjust their schedules accordingly.
So here,
And that goes, sorry, Tim, that goes down to having a happy family life, right? When you know what you have to do the next day, when you can tell your wife when you're going to be home, or your buddies when you're going to be home, it makes a huge difference.
yeah,
Or your husband when you're going to be home.
yeah. So the John found this stat. PwC, not sure which company that is,
Price
found
Waterhouse.
PricewaterhouseCooper, yeah. 61% of employees consider access to the right technology important factor in job satisfaction. And companies that have those get a 15% higher employee retention rate. So, that's higher retention rates is higher profitability. Happier employees is higher profitability.
I got a few more stats here and I'll just whip through them. Productivity
Yeah.
boost. McKinsey says productivity goes up 25% with good tech solutions. Improved collaboration and communication. We just talked about that. 66% improvement, according to Gartner. Data-driven decision making, which is at the higher up. They're 5 times more likely to make faster and better decisions when they have the data that they're acquiring with their tech stack, with a well-placed tech stack, which in turn gives them a competitive advantage. And the cost savings through automation can be up to 30%, just in hours saved, let alone catching mistakes and everything else, but just an hour saved. KPMG shows that 73% of CEOs view technology as the key driver for resilience and adaptability. And yeah, I mean, those stats speak for themselves. It's really important to
And
have
when you
an
translate
innovative
those
state of mind.
statistics into dollars, when you look at that in a financial sense based on your company's gross revenues and profit lines,
Yeah,
how much money are you gonna make? How much more profit are you going to have? Your higher profit margins. And so often, and you've run into this too, we've talked about it, how companies look at the software and it's like, ooh, it's going to be, that's a big budget line.
yeah.
It's
Well,
the ROI is huge.
another important point to make here is insurance companies. If you're a larger general contractor, you're spending exorbitant amounts on insurance and bonding and everything else. Insurance companies now are offering, if you have the tech stack in place, and this just isn't cybersecurity, it's everything else. Every piece, even your project management, helps you mitigate risk. And insurance companies now are setting up point systems, and they will analyze your tech stack. And if you're doing it right, you will get significant credits on your insurance, which will in turn, what they're seeing right now and what we're hearing is that it's more than enough to pay for your investment in a robust tech stack. So
Hmm.
just that alone is worth putting the effort in my
It can
opinion.
be for the bigger companies for sure.
Yeah.
So next slide here, we're moving on. Because John and I do like to tell anecdotes and stories, and we'll go on and on. But moving on, top tech tools for your business needs. So in we surveyed our all of our clients over the past couple of years. Uh, Project management was number one amongst our clients. Time tracking was right up there. Safety management was another important one that was often adopted in HR resources. So eight, we've got several different HR softwares, and of course that's onboarding files, your staff files, contracts, managing their time off, etc. So from the top, time tracking is incredibly important. That's always number one. That's the easiest one to manage. And I put beside there LEM, labor, equipment, materials. Being able to track those on in the field, what one, well, how many hours am I working? What equipment am I using, if any? And when I say equipment, I mean if the company has heavy equipment, if you're operating equipment. If you don't have any, then LM. But materials, what materials you're using, and tracking those materials on the project. And then the other key point that a lot of time tracking software doesn't track is which cost code you're working against. It is essential that you have your staff tracking against what tasks and what cost code they're working on within the project. Being able to break that down is important. And there are some softwares like finance softwares that have a time tracking component, and it seems really great because it does all of the, their not just their time, but it talks about, their bill out rates and etc. But what's most important is being able to track the project and track the job and how many hours are against each of the different items that you've estimated against and you've quoted against. If you just have, oh, they're at the job site, but there's 20 or more different cost codes at that job, you have no way of knowing which ones they're working on. That doesn't help with your costing. So I think it's essential to have that ability within your time tracking software. And most of the time tracking softwares do, but like I say, there are some that come through an HR or a payroll program and or accounting software that don't, because you don't set up the projects in your accounting software necessarily. Some companies do. We advise against it. We just find a really good project management software. So there's the segue to project management software. Find a really good project management software where you can either has a time tracking component to it so that you can track against those cost codes, or find an LEM that works with it, and then it feeds the information into finance. And then safety management, often overlooked. Uh, I found that, and in my experience working at civil excavation company and with our clients, when you are serious about safety and you are serious about and concerned about your employees' health and welfare, and honestly, because you are, not just from a financial standpoint, because healthy employees are profitable employees, and sick employees or injured employees are a burden financially and a drag on the organization. But all of us are concerned about our staff. We're concerned about them. And when they know that you're concerned about them and you have a good safety management system in place, the safety management system is not to satisfy WorkSafe or OHS.
Right.
That system is there to protect the workers in the field. So absolutely important, a huge value. And that when you're talking about retaining staff, uh, it's got to be in place absolutely every time.
I mean, the HR is the tech component of it, but a big thing of getting boots on the ground these days is having a safe, inclusive, respectful work site. So safety is one part of it. Like, why am I walking up this slippery bank? There should be stairs or it should be graveled. Is everyone being treated with respect? There's new legislation coming in also about just having a nice sanitary place for people to go to the bathroom and wash their hands with a warm hand washing station. That didn't exist before, but that's coming in now, and that's going to help the construction industry retain better talent from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
The old days of cat calling from the fence and everything else, that's gone. We have to have an inclusive workplace that is safe, and the tech can help manage this. To go a little bit farther into the tech, the AI is now being used, cameras set up on sites to manage safety. The AI can pick up those people aren't wearing their hard hats, or that ladder is not safe, or there is a slippery surface there. And that tech is definitely going to change the safety of a workplace, and that is definitely going to help retain people, because I've seen it. I've seen tons of people come to work, they're into construction, their dad did it, they get there, they have an awful experience, they're kind of, it was a bit abusive, it was unsafe, and they just walk away, they go look for another job.
Yeah,
And
there was a lot of bullying back in the day.
for
But
sure.
just slightly, I want to move along because we're kind of getting up past our half hour here, John. But
Yeah.
how does it attract and retain top talent? That safety management software and showing concern and how important it is for your company to be concerned about safety, that's going to attract talent, saying we're concerned about you. We have a very robust safety management program. We have a very robust HR program that is for training and for education. Those
Yep.
things, people look at that. And so having those softwares in place and those programs in place is really important. So how to successfully implement new tools. Uh, John, we've talked about this before. This is one of our favorites.
Yeah.
Wires need electricians. Bricks need masons. Nails need carpenters.
Digital adoption plans need digital consultants, and that's
That's right. And
I
then
mean,
not
like
just
I always
that.
say, I could go build a house, but it would take me forever. So why wouldn't I hire a house builder? You're all smart. If you can work in a construction, you're smart enough to figure out your own digital adoption plan, but you don't have the time. You're busy in the weeds with your business.
And not just that, the other analogy we all always like to use is you wouldn't build a house or
Right.
any construction project without a set of plans. And
Right.
then you hire an engineer and an architect to build those plans, and then you work to the plans. We're the engineers and architects of your digital adoption. It's important to have a plan going in, creating a clear set of goals, having timelines and phasing,
Yeah.
all of the things, a lot of the same way you would do it for building a house, but we build those plans for a digital adoption. So onboard first, figuring out your pain points and doing an assessment, going in and looking at your at the different softwares, choosing the best software that's
Yeah.
the best fit for your profile of business. That's everything from the whether you're residential, commercial, if you're a contractor or hourly, John.
I'm going to cut you off because we are running out of time. It's
Okay,
just the fact is 70% of digital adoption attempts fail because they don't have a plan.
there's that.
Failure to
That's
have a
the
plan
key
is planning
figure.
to fail, essentially. And it's essential. Putting that initial time in will ensure success. If you
Yeah.
just do the shiny nickel and listen to the software salespeople and say, okay, this is going to work without a plan, how is it going to integrate with everything else, like Tim was just saying, you're probably going to fail.
So
Next
the
slide.
ROI, we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but with the statistic that you talked about, but we know that a uh, good tech stack that works and is efficient is going to attract that talent. But the return on the investment is, yeah, we didn't even in this, we didn't really even, well, less employee turnover, I guess, is the
Yeah.
big part of it because we know that it costs money to hire to train new staff, but the increased profitability, the higher margins, all of those things are absolutely, you can track those. And we have done with lots of different softwares. And so
And any
getting started.
and anyone that's hired and fired, the cost of turnover is super expensive. You essentially have for 6 months employee that's working at 50% capacity. So retaining those people that are versed in your tech
Mm,
universe is crucial.
okay. And well, finishing up with us and getting started is getting started. Like we said, we work through a needs assessment, understanding your business profile, do the pain point analysis. Where's the bottlenecks? Where's your biggest problems? And then we look at solution recommendations. That's a lot of what we do best. We understand the huge market out there. We have probably evaluated over 300 different types of construction specific software on top of another
And
100 or
counting.
two general use softwares like Monday.com and ClickUp, etc. And then we
Yeah.
figure that what the best solutions are, and then we create a system architecture and help you with the digital adoption plan to ensure that you're going to have the highest chance of success with the most efficient software. And that's how we get started. Questions to wrap
Well
things
said.
up. And I haven't seen any in the chat, so we'll just,
You and me.
oops.
Nothing. There's nothing.
No, if anybody is interested in contacting us, here's a QR code to
Oh,
our,
oh wait, there's a question coming. I guess it's being
oh,
typed. Hang on.
here's a QR code link to our website. I'm Tim at theneteffect.ca, and John, of course, is John at theneteffect.ca. And please get in touch with us. We're happy to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so here's a question. How can non-techie business owners learn to embrace new construction technology and put themselves into the position to attract more tech-savvy talent?
How do you eat an elephant, John?
One bite at a time, Tim.
That's right.
Um,
So start simple.
yeah,
We can help with that. Finding an LEM, back to the easiest way to do it. There are simple labor, equipment, materials tracking softwares that are easy to use on your phone. And then the interface on your computer is really simple. Implementing those is an easy first step, and we can help you find the right one.
I'm going to say the easiest thing to do is to give Tim or I a call.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll give you a 30 minutes of our time up front
happily.
to discuss what your pain points are and what you're trying to achieve, which by all accounts is very much worth the time. It's worth ours and worth yours. So I hope to hear from you.
Great. Thanks everybody for attending, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Take care, everyone.